Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for today's virtual presentation on starting the new year out right with healthy eating. My name is Jenny Jorgensen, and I am from Community Engagement at Mayo Clinic Health System in Northwest Wisconsin. We are so excited that you are able to join us this afternoon for what we think will be an excellent presentation. Today we're going to be using Zoom as our virtual platform, and although many of you may already be familiar with Zoom, I just want to quickly go over a couple of the tools that actually we'll be using today. Today's presentation, you will actually have the opportunity to interact with our presenter. She'll be asking some questions and asking for your feedback as we go along in today's presentation. So one of the features or the tools we'll be using is the chat tool, and there's a little icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. And when Nicholle asks a question and asks you to use the chat tool, we will ask you to click on that little icon at the bottom of your screen. There'll also be a couple of opportunities to answer some poll questions along the way, and there's nothing that you'll need to do. I will simply click on the question, and a little window will pop up on your screen, and we'll ask you to submit your answer to that. So again, when those opportunities come along in today's presentation, myself or Nicholle will be certain to remind you, but I just wanted to let you know that you will have the chance to interact today. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter. Nicholle Oman has been a registered dietitian for the past 9.5 years and has been with Mayo Clinic Health System for almost 5 years. In addition to being a registered dietitian, Nicholle is also a certified diabetes care and education specialist and certified lactation counselor. Although her main focus at Mayo Clinic Health System is on inpatient clinical nutrition, Nicholle also provides some counseling through the outpatient clinic and through cardiac rehab and classes in the community as well. Nicholle, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here today. I'm just going to jump right in, and we're going to utilize that chat function right away. I want you to answer this first question. Just what is food, right? Whatever comes to mind, no right or wrong, or just answer this. What is food? So a few things people are saying: yummy, fuel, energy, nutrients, let's see, substance, nutrition, something that makes me happy. Yep. Comfort. Okay, good. Things that you put into your mouth. Yes. Happiness, joy. Perfect. There's really no right or wrong answer here. All of these are fantastic. I'm just going to give you my very short list of things that come to mind when I think of what is food. So the first thing I think of is food is necessary, right? Food is nourishment. Food is medicine. Food is tradition. Food is connection, and food is commodity, right? Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. These are just the big things that come into my mind right away. But along that same tokens, let's talk a little bit about what food is not, okay? A lot of these things are ideas that we have been instilled with since we were children or very young, and they're really things that we should try to start to move away from, right? Food is not good or bad, right? There is not a good or bad. Even worse yet, some of us have been taught to believe that I am good or bad based on what I eat. Food is not right or wrong, right? There is no really right way to eat because what's right might not be right for everybody. Food isn't a punishment, right? The idea that I have to eat the salad today because I ate a cheeseburger yesterday, it's just something we want to start to move away from. Same thing, if food is a reward, right? This idea that I can't have the ice cream until I've reached my goals. These are all things that we want to start to move away from. We want to start to focus on having a good relationship with food. And these are some things that we just need to get rid of. So I should say that this is not a weight loss presentation, right? I want to focus on today ways to be healthier overall. not necessarily just tied to your weight. So we're going to do a little bit of New Year's cleaning here. And I want you to start to work on throwing out some of these gimmicks and lies and all the things that we hear related around making resolutions and New Year's and all that. So the very first thing, just you can only be healthy at a certain weight, right? Again, this is exactly what I want to get away from. You do not have to wait until you've reached your goal weight or at any certain weight to be healthier. This is something that we can work on today to be healthier. And there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about today that you can start today. And that's really what I want to focus on. It being New Year's and everybody making resolutions, right? I feel like I just need to touch on fad diets a little bit. The biggest downfall with fad diets is simply that they're not sustainable, right? But that is the bread and butter of the diet industry, right? This diet culture that we all live in now. They want you to lose weight and they want you to lose it fast. But if you keep that weight off, they're losing future sales, right? Go back to this idea that food is a commodity, right? Somebody somewhere is making money off of what you choose to eat. And with fad diets, again, they want you to lose that weight and keep it off. But as soon as you gain it back, you are more likely to go back to the same product or program that worked for you before. Therefore, they're setting themselves up for future sales by setting you up for failure. So it's something we really want to get away from. We want to, again, be focused on being healthier overall. And then the next thing, there is one way that works for everyone. Again, this just is not true. If there was a fast, easy, no work solution that was just going to work for everybody, I promise you, you would already know about it, right? It's just, and most of us know somebody who has lost weight. And maybe we've tried it as well and it didn't work for us, or we know a few different people have tried the same diet and worked for one and not the other. Again, this just isn't as simple as a one size fits all. And you definitely don't need any special item for weight loss or for health, right? You don't need anything in particular to purchase in order to be healthier today. And again, that's what we want to focus on more, is being healthier, not solely on our weight. This next bullet point, that you just don't want it bad enough. Right? This is probably one of my most loathed notions. This idea that you just don't want it bad enough, otherwise you'd get it done, right? I promise you, there are so many things that go into your health, and yes, your weight, that is always not as simple as you just don't want it bad enough. So this is an idea that I really want us all to get away from and throw out right now, because it is not serving you and it is not serving your goals at all. And then the idea that you have to eat less in order to be healthier or have weight loss. Most of us have seen some kind of picture like this, right? The plate on the left-hand side with the Alfredo, it's a very high energy density meal, meaning that there's a lot of calories in a small volume. That's got, for that one plate, about 646 calories. Whereas if you look at the plate on the right side, still a pasta meal, right? You've got whole grains, you've got a marinara of some kind, you've got vegetables in there, you've got a dinner roll, the salad, the fruit. This is a low energy density meal because for the roughly the same amount of calories, you're getting a much bigger volume. Now, if we're talking about weight solely, right, 24 calories probably isn't going to do a lot for you in the long run, but you're getting a lot more nutrition. You're doing a lot more for your overall health by choosing that food on the right-hand side with all the vegetables and the fruits and the whole grains than you are by choosing that Alfredo meal. So this year, I really want to talk about setting new goals, right? I want to make your focus less about your weight, right? Make not your only goal about the size of your jeans. I don't want you to focus all of your efforts around only one aspect that constitutes a healthy individual. Because really, we are all more than just a number, and your health is about a lot more than just your weight. So good nutrition, right? This is something that we should all be focusing on and striving for every single day, not just depending on what your weight is. We should all be focused on getting that plate, right, with more fruits, more vegetables, more nutrition into it. Physical activity. Physical activity is so important for our overall health as humans. Movement might look different for all of us, but it is something that we all need to have in our lives and we should be striving for every day. Again, this is something you could do today. You know, after this presentation, get up, move around, do whatever movement serves you in your body, but we need to move and have movement. Then mental health. Right? Our mental health and our physical health are so interconnected. It's very hard to have one without having the other. So if this is a place that you tend to struggle, I highly can encourage you to think about putting this on your to-do list for 2021, about seeing someone, seeing a counselor, your primary care, whatever the case may be, to really work on your mental health. The American Heart Association actually just came out with a paper just a few days ago that was linking your psychological health with risk for cardiovascular disease, which is just huge, right? So we really want to focus on not only our physical health, but also our mental health. And then self-care, right? This is that idea that you need to fill into your own cup before you're able to fill into somebody else's. And self-care could look 1,000 different ways, whatever works for you. But the idea is that you're making a commitment to really caring for yourself this year. And then healthy sleep habits, right? Having good restful sleep can affect everything from your metabolism, your immune function, to your memory, and so much more. How much sleep you need is very individualized, but we all need good restful sleep. So having some really healthy sleep habits can go a long way to making you a healthier overall. And then social connections, right? If 2020 taught us anything, it's how important social connections are for us as human beings. Now, having those social connections might not look the same right now, but things like Zoom or Skype or social media, virtual platforms, FaceTime, just a good old-fashioned phone call, there are numerous ways that we can connect socially, which will go a long way to your mental health and therefore your physical health. And this is really something that we should continue to strive for in the new year. So, with all that being said, I am a dietitian. So most of what we're going to talk about today is really focused around food and nutrition. But I want to keep this idea going that we want to focus on your overall health. So with nutrition, we want to get back to the basics, right? You want to have a good foundation. This is what most of us are really missing in day-to-day, that we don't have a good foundation and a good relationship with food. So this is where we want to start. And I'm here to remind you, I promise you, you know that carrots are better for you than chips, right? You know that a cup of berries is better for you than the donut. You know that water is better for you than soda. You know that whole foods are better for you than processed or prepackaged foods. You know the basics. This is where most of us need to start and get a good footing before we move on. So today we're going to talk about making meals. We're going to talk about eating more plants, actually cooking at home, making mealtime more enjoyable, eating when you're actually hungry, and really starting from where you are at. So to jump into that right away, I want to talk about making actual meals. The more, it seems like recently, the more that I talk to patients or clients about what they're eating, the less and less I hear of actual meals being eaten, right? Now, it is ideal if everybody could get that My Plate in, right? The fruit, the vegetable, the grain, the protein, the dairy. If you can get all 5 of those at all 3 of your meals, perfect. I want you to strive for that. But at a bare minimum, a meal needs to include a protein, a produce, and a carbohydrate. One of my coworkers started saying this, so I want to pass this on to you because I feel like it's a great framework to have. At a very bare minimum, a protein, a produce, and a carbohydrate. All right. A lot of keeping that in mind can help you put together meals easier. But a bowl of noodles does not constitute a meal, right? A couple of pork chops does not constitute a meal, or a plate of broccoli does not constitute a meal. We need to get back to really having more meals. Our bodies need just a huge variety of different foods and nutrients to really thrive. So we really want to get back to that. And again, if you can do the My Plate perfect, but at a bare minimum, in order to consider it an actual meal, it should have that protein, produce, and carbohydrate. And then eat more plants, right? I could probably just stop here and you would get the gist behind it, but it is so important to us as humans to eat more plants. There are numerous studies to show that the more plants that we eat, the healthier we tend to be. Now, I'm not saying that you necessarily need to be vegetarian or vegan or anything like that, although those are very healthful ways of eating, but we just need to work from where you're at right now. So however much you eat, I want you to eat more, right? More plants in our diet. And for me, right, I want you to start from where you're at. So if you're willing to eat all the superfoods and that kind of thing, great, do it. But so often I see people who are skipping adding in certain plants because they don't want to eat the superfood, or they tried, tomatoes one way one time and didn't like them, or whatever the case may be. And you're missing out on so much nutrition. So for me, I don't care if it is canned, if it is fresh, frozen, if it is raw, if it is cooked, I don't care. I want you to start by eating them, right? The vast majority of us don't get those 5 fruits and vegetables in a day. And I want you just to work towards getting there. So I don't care where they come from. Now, obviously, in every one of those categories, there are healthier choices you can make, right? If you're going to get a canned vegetable, we want to get the ones without sodium added. If you're going to get a frozen fruit or vegetable, we don't want the ones with sauces already on them or sugars added and that kind of thing. But for me, if all you're willing to do is eat canned green beans, that is where I want you to start, right? I want you to start there and really get those plants in. Now, this could be as simple as just adding something to your meal, right? Again, something you can do today. Whatever you were planning on having for supper tonight, I want you to add a fruit or a vegetable to it, right? That is as simple as it could be. You can also consider having some meatless meals, right? There are so many different things that you could do here to still get that protein, the produce, and the carbohydrate in without having an animal protein in there. So that might be something that you want to consider kind of adding to your meals throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. And then also cooking at home, right? When we cook at home, we know what's going into it. We know that we can make things healthier. And with the pandemic and with all the other stresses that we have going on, a lot of people have started to get away from this more. But this is something we want to do more of. We want to cook at home. Now, you don't have to make the most intricate and fancy meals in order to be a successful cook at home. You can start just by modifying the things that you already like to eat to be able to cook them from home or to make them a little bit healthier. And by all means, if you have an afternoon to set aside to plan your meals or batch cook or do your prep work, do that. I promise it will make the rest of your week so much simpler. But if that seems too daunting to you, I just want you to start by getting a few staples in your cupboard that you know you can make a meal out of, right? Quick, fast, easy, healthy. Something as simple as a sauteed chicken breast with steamed broccoli and minute brown rice. You can cook that from start to finish in as little as 10 to 20 minutes. You add whatever herbs or spices seem to sound good to you that night, and you have dinner. You have a great meal there without having to put a ton of thought into it. Now, if you do have some extra time, you might want to consider trying out some new recipes. And I did list here just a couple of websites that have really great healthy recipes that you could try. But keep in mind, you have the entire internet at your disposal. Now, personally, when I'm trying to find healthier recipes, I prefer to see a recipe that's got the food label, mostly so then I can really see if what they're considering healthy falls within the parameters of what I consider healthy. But again, you have the entire internet at your disposal. Try out a few new recipes. I do want to point out the last website on this slide. It's something I came across when I was putting this presentation together, the Family Dinner Project. That has not only some really great examples of meals and recipes, conversation starters, but just a whole host of things to bring the family meal more enjoyment there. All right, so we're going to have our first poll question here. So I want you guys to answer this. Which meal looks more appetizing? Does A, does B? Which one looks more appetizing to you? I'll give you a little bit of time here, but
Give you about 5 more seconds to answer the poll, and then I will end it and launch the results here.
Thank you, Jenny.
All right, I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Should be able to see that, Nicholle.
All right, perfect. So it looks like the majority of people said plate B. Okay. So really there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm going to make you do this one more time though. Okay. So which plate now, which one looks more appetizing to you?
Looks like people definitely got the polling questions down. So
Good.
Coming in fast and furious. We'll wait about 10 more seconds, make sure everybody has the opportunity to vote, and then again, I'll end the poll and share the results.
All right, perfect. Okay, so again, on this one, it looks like the majority of people, a little bit more split this time, but the majority of people said that plate B looks more appetizing. In reality, there's no right or wrong answer here, right? The whole idea is what looks more appetizing to you. That's one of the things that we can do to make our meal times more enjoyable, really make that plate look appetizing. Now, there are studies to show that the more color that you have in your meals, the more fruits and vegetables and the less sugar that you tend to eat at that meal. There are studies that show that the color of the plate can influence how much we eat. If the color of the food is the same or very similar to the plate that it's on, we tend to eat a larger volume. The size of your plate can really influence how satisfied you feel after a meal. If you eat the exact same volume of food off of a smaller plate, we tend to feel more satisfied after that meal. So again, there's really no right or wrong answer here, but the idea is that we want you to make your plate look appetizing. That's one way to bring more enjoyment to your meal. And then eat at your table. Again, this is something that you can do today to be healthier. I want you to eat at your table and only at your table. We know that most of our distracted eating tends to happen in front of the TV or when we're standing in the kitchen or we're zoning out on our phones. We really want to be present with what we're eating. So I want you to bring it back and really eat at your table. And then have actual meal and snack times, right? With a lot more people working from home or doing schooling from home or just staying at home more often, we tend to lose that structure to our day. And having structure in our day can go a long ways for our mental health, which again, in turn, can go a long ways for our physical health. So I want you to still plan in to have those snack times, those meal times, those break times, and really have that structure to your days. that can also help to kind of weed out some of that grazing or extra snacking that we tend to do at home. And then set your table, right? Again, we want to bring more enjoyment to your meal. So take out the placemats, put out a candle, put out some flowers. This one could be as simple as just cleaning off all the junk. Put your work away, put the to-do list away. Allow your table to be there just for that meal. And then family meals, right? There are so many benefits to family meals that a whole presentation could be done on that. And trust me, lots of presentations have been done on it. Again, the internet is at your disposal. Go Google benefits of family meals. But I mean, you're talking about anything from reducing rates of obesity and depression, substance abuse, eating disorders, to increasing the amount of fruits and vegetables and fiber that we eat. Having family meals can also positively impact the diets of our children even after they leave the home. So really getting back to really having these family meals can go a long way to bringing more enjoyment to your meals. Now, again, things are different right now. If you're at home alone or you can't come together with your family, you might want to consider utilizing some technology to have a meal with other people. Right? Again, there are numerous platforms that you can use here, but set up your phone, set up your tablet or your laptop so you can still have that visual connection to really enhance the enjoyment of your meals. And then good conversation, right? Good conversation can go a long way to enjoying your meal. So that could be as simple as asking everybody, how was your day? You know, what's one thing that you're grateful for today? You might want to consider doing something like a conversation jar, which can be helpful for anybody, but especially people with families. Have everybody write down 5 different questions on separate pieces of paper, right? Anything from what's your dream job to if you could be an animal, what kind of animal would you be, or anything in between. And put all of those pieces of paper into a jar. And then every night you pick out one. You go around the table and really engage everybody, have everybody answer that and really get some good conversation. It could be as simple as just playing some soft background music, right? Whatever it is that's going to work for you to really enhance that mealtime, to really make it more enjoyable, that can go a long ways to what we're choosing to eat and how much we're eating if we're really enjoying that mealtime more. And then eating when you are hungry. This seems kind of like, well, duh, you know, I need to eat when I'm hungry. But in our world today, there are so many products and programs that are getting thrown at you trying to promote skipping meals. And this isn't necessarily right for everybody, right? We all need to eat. Most of us eat multiple times a day. And yes, we want to choose healthier things, but we all need to eat. So I want to touch a little bit on emotional eating. So emotional eating is eating even though you are not physically hungry. And keep in mind, this could be good emotions or bad emotions, right? I am happy, sad, bored, elated, whatever the case may be. If you feel like you are eating solely because of how you're feeling emotionally, you might want to consider keeping like a food journal or a log with not only the typical of what I ate, how much and when, but also add in why. Why did I eat? How was I feeling when I had that meal or that snack? Really getting that down can help you to kind of tease out any triggers that you might have for emotional eating, right? If I'm feeling this way, I tend to eat this, or when I'm feeling this way, I tend to crave these foods. That log can really go a long ways to helping you kind of tease out what's working for you. And I would highly encourage you to consider making a list of other activities you could do to distract yourself. Now, I am huge on actual visual cues, so I want you to get out a piece of paper and get out a pencil and actually make a list of things that you like to do, things that you can distract yourself. So that way, the next time you realize I am feeling bored and I'm starting to feel hungry, I know I'm not actually hungry, I'm going to go to that list and pick out one thing to do, and I'm going to do it for at least 10 minutes. And really focus on that. After that 10 minutes, you can come back and kind of reevaluate. You know, am I still hungry? Am I still craving that food? Do I still want to eat? If this is a place that you struggle, this is a place that I highly encourage you get together with your physician, with a counselor, with a coach to really work through these emotional eating. The whole idea is that we want to move towards practicing more mindfulness. Okay. Mindful eating really is about tuning into what your body, your mind, your emotions, your environment are all telling you about eating. Mindful eating really is about enjoyment. Right? We know that the more present you are with what you're eating, the more satisfaction we tend to get out of that food. And we want to bring more enjoyment to eating. We want to bring more enjoyment to food into our meal times. Mindful eating is also about removing distractions, right? Again, shut off the TV, put away your phone, really be present with the food and who you're eating with and really at that meal time. And then mindful eating also is about eating slowly. It really does take time for your stomach to tell your brain and your brain to make those signals and for you to pick up on those signals of fullness. So if we slow down how fast we're eating, we're able to recognize those earlier signs of fullness before we've gotten to the point of overeating. And at the base of it, mindful eating really is about making conscious decisions to eat. And in order to do this, we tend to have to ask ourselves a few questions. So before you start eating, I want you to stop and just consciously ask yourself, am I truly physically hungry? Right? Is my stomach growling? Am I having hunger pains? Am I truly physically hungry? Not only that, how am I feeling? How am I feeling emotionally? How am I feeling mentally? Am I bored, sad, happy? Am I tired? Is there just food that I'm seeing or smelling, right? There's a lot that goes into eating and goes into your hunger and satiety that it's not as easy as just one thing, but really getting conscious about asking these questions. It can also be very helpful if you ask certain questions throughout your meal as well. So again, maybe before you start eating, am I physically hungry? Right? Maybe halfway through it, am I still hungry? Does this food still taste good to me? Do I still want to finish it? Maybe when you just have a few bites left on your plate, you stop again. Am I still hungry? Am I still liking this? Do I still want to finish? Or maybe once you've finished your first plate, before you get seconds, again, just stop and check in with yourself. Your answers to all of these questions are going to be very unique to you, but they're questions that can help you get to the root of why am I eating right now? And again, we want to make those decisions on eating much more conscious. With that being said, if you are physically hungry, you need to eat, right? We all need to nourish our bodies. If you are physically hungry, you need to eat. It is no more helpful to your body or understanding what your body is trying to tell you or how it works to ignore physical hunger than it is to be eating when you're not physically hungry. So if you are physically hungry, I want you to eat. And keep in mind, there may be times that you decide to eat even when you're not physically hungry. And that is okay. If you decide to eat just because you're at a celebration or just because somebody brought in something to share that smells really good, if you understand why you're eating and you're making a conscious decision, that's okay. Now, I'm going to throw in one caveat to that. If we want you to avoid eating if the sole reason is emotional, right? That's the time that we want to avoid that most of the time. And the reason behind that is because we need to find other ways to fill those emotional needs that we have other than food, right? Go back to that idea that food is not a reward. But if you've made the conscious decision, either I am physically hungry or I'm just making that conscious decision to eat, then I want you to enjoy it. I want you to eat it. I want you to enjoy it and then move on with your day. There is no reason to overthink this. All right, and then finally, I want to talk about starting from where you are at today. Again, in this world of social media, we tend to compare ourselves in every way, right? I don't want you to compare where you're at right now to somebody else's middle, right? I don't want you to compare your life to the highlight reel that somebody else puts on social media. Those things are not true. They are not real. They are not helpful to you. I don't want you to beat yourself up for something you did or didn't do yesterday, right? Or something that you ate yesterday or last week or last year. You cannot take it back anyways. I really want to encourage everybody to get to the point where you just come to terms with where I'm at right now, and I am making a commitment to moving forward. Again, you can't change what has happened in the past. I want you to make a commitment to moving forward. And for a lot of us, that's going to start with goal setting. So again, we're going to do another poll here. So I want you to answer, when I set goals, what percentage of the time do I usually reach that goal? And be honest, right? Nobody else is going to see what you're putting down here. Just what percentage of the time do I usually actually reach the goals that I set?
Give you about 10 more seconds to answer the question. And then we'll share the results here.
Perfect. Thanks, Jenny. All right. So it looks like, again, the majority of people are saying C. About 50% of the time when I set a goal, do I actually reach it? Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. I just kind of wanted to gauge where everybody was at, but it is important. It can be very helpful with how you frame your goals, with whether you're going to reach them or not. So this is where I want to talk a little bit about SMART goals, right? All the goals that we set, we want them to be SMART, meaning that we want them to be specific, we want them to be measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So specific, saying something like, I want to eat better. What does that mean, right? What is better? Or saying, I want to lose weight. There's no measurement there. What amount of weight is going to make me feel like I've actually reached that goal? Attainable. I would argue that if you've never gone for a run in your life, setting a goal of saying, I'm going to run 5 miles every single day for the next month might not be attainable, right? Relevant. Relevant is very individualized, right? Is it relevant to you and your goals? And then time bound. We want all of our goals to be time bound, meaning that I'm going to set a certain amount of time that I'm really focused on this goal, be it a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, whatever it is. If I say at the end of this week, I'm going to drink 64 ounces of water every day for a week. That means at the end of that week, I'm going to check back in and kind of see, how did I do on my goal, right? Did I meet my goal? Do I want to continue working on this goal? Do I need to modify it a little bit? Or do I need to just completely scrap it and go with something new? So again, we want all of our goals to be SMART goals. Now, there are lots of different types of goals that you can set, right? For a lot of us, well, like the poll showed, right? Unfortunately, a lot of us have set goals and never actually attained them, right? There's probably done that more times than we care to admit to. So sometimes setting short-term goals that again are very relevant to what you're getting at and attainable can be very helpful in getting motivation and getting momentum moving to get towards our longer term goals. So you might want to consider setting some short-term goals. You might want to have some long-term goals. There are also behavioral goals or outcome goals. All right, again, not solely about weight, but if my goal is to lose 10 pounds, maybe I set a behavioral goal of I'm going to drink 64 ounces of water every single day, right? Or maybe my goal is that I'm going to eat half a plate of vegetables at every dinner, or I'm going to get in 3 fruits and vegetables every single day this week. Whatever it is, those are behaviors that I can do that are going to get to my outcome goal. But again, I really want to encourage you to think about setting goals for your overall health. right? So you might have goals that are for your mental health or for your spiritual health or physical health, financial health, or even other. We want all of these goals to be SMART goals, but we don't want to focus on just one aspect that constitutes a healthy individual. All right, so now I'm going to have you do a question here. So a little bit of a pop quiz. Which of the following is the best example of a SMART goal, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So which of these is the best example of a SMART goal? So I'll have you guys put in your answers here, and then I'll go over what I think the answer is and why, and then go over why I don't think the other ones fit as well. All right. All right, so it looks like the vast majority of people said B. There's a decent amount of people that also said C and D. So again, I'm going to kind of go over each one of these. So for me, the best example would be B, right? I will eat half a plate of vegetables at dinner at least 4 days per week for the next month. It is very specific, right? We are talking about half a plate. We are talking about vegetables at dinner time. We're talking about 4 days a week. It is very specific. It's also measurable, right? I can measure what half of my plate is. I can measure 4 days a week. I would argue that it's attainable because it's not 100% of the time, right? A lot of times when I'm helping people set their goals, I have to remind people that your weekends may look a little bit different than your week. Now, some goals lend themselves very well to being 100% of the time, but not all of them do. So the idea that you're not having to do this 100% of the time, again, I would argue that that makes it a little bit more attainable. Relevant, again, relevant is very individualized, but it is also time-bound. So at the end of that month, the month is the time-bound part. So at the end of the month, I'm going to look back. Did I reach my goal? Am I going to continue with it? Am I going to modify it? Or am I going to scrap it and start something new? So thankfully, nobody said A was the right answer, right? I'm going to be at my goal weight by swimsuit season. This is not specific enough. What is your goal weight? Heck, when is swimsuit season, right? Like depending on where you're tuning in from today, your swimsuit season might be very different from where ours is in northern Wisconsin. So it's just not specific enough. For C, I will increase the amount of water I drink daily. Again, this one isn't quite specific enough. There's not a measure here. How much water is going to allow you to feel like you have attained this goal? How much are you drinking now? What is your goal? How much do you want to drink in a day? It's also not time bound. There's no end of a week for a month, that kind of thing, to stop and get myself to look back and really evaluate how I've done on that goal. And then D, I will eat 5 fruits and 5 vegetables every day for a month. So this one does check off most of the boxes, but again, this one I would argue it's not terribly attainable for most of us. So we know that most Americans are not eating 5 fruits and vegetables a day, let alone 5 fruits and 5 vegetables. So this is one, like I said, I just want it to be attainable for you. So we're going to go and we're going to set all of our goals. We're going to make them SMART goals. And I also want you to celebrate your successes, right? The small successes, the big successes, and all of them in between. I want you to celebrate your successes. With one caveat, you are not a dog and food is not a reward, right? There are so many things that you can do to celebrate your successes that are not food related. I made just a very short list of things here. Some of them would require outside help. Some of them are about buying things. Some of them are just don't require any of that and are just some good things to help you celebrate your successes without having to purchase anything or really go out of your way a whole lot. But I really want you to celebrate your successes. Getting some of those wins under our belt, again, can really help to maintain our drive towards getting those longer term goals. And for a lot of people, it can be helpful that when you're setting that goal, you also set your reward at the same time. So I know what I'm working towards. Maybe if my goal is to drink 64 ounces of water every single day for 2 weeks, at the end of that 2 weeks, if I've done it, I'm going to get myself a new water bottle, right? It's something, whatever the case may be, just something to kind of keep you moving in that right direction. So again, in this new year, I want you to get back to the basics of food and nutrition. I want you to build a good base. I want you to work on fostering really healthy relationships with food. Some of the things that we can do is, again, get back to making actual meals, right? A protein, a produce, and a carbohydrate at the very least. I want you to eat more plants. So wherever you are right now, I want you to eat more. I want you to cook at home as often as you're able to. Make mealtime more enjoyable, right? Eat when you are hungry and mostly only when you're hungry, and really start from where you are at today. Make some really good, smart goals and get to work today. And that's the biggest thing here, right? There is nothing special about starting on a Monday or the first of the month or any other indication. I want you to start today, and I want you to start over every single day. Don't get trapped in old mindsets making you think that you have to be perfect 100% of the time, because you don't. Nobody is. So we're going to kind of wrap things up today with, I want you to utilize that chat function again, and I want you to put in some things that you can do today to be healthier. Whether it's from this presentation or otherwise, something that you can start today to be healthier. Somebody said get more exercise. Let's see, eat fruit every day, drink more water, get smart, track your meals. Things are going very fast. Mindful eating, yep. Climb the stairs, have some quiet time. I love that you guys are putting in things that are not just about food. Again, that is huge. There are so many things that constitute a healthy individual. Not everything has to be about food and your weight. Drink one less soda per day. I love that. It seems very attainable, right? Read more. I plan to make a list of things I can do to curb my emotional eating. Eat at the table. Cook meals at home. Awesome. You guys, these are all fantastic things. And again, things that you can start today. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to do one thing today to be healthier. That's what I want you to focus on. And if you're struggling to think of something, get in there, get in the chat function and kind of see what other people are saying. Sometimes it's nice to see what other people are saying or doing to kind of get yourself moving. So that's it. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you being here with me and for sticking it out. I hope you found this helpful.
Well, thank you again, Nicholle, and thank you to everybody who joined us for today's presentation. I hope you found it as valuable and interesting as I did. A special thank you to Nicholle, of course, for sharing her expertise with us. I am super impressed with all of these ideas that people have in the chat window of things they're going to start doing today, and you've given me some ideas as well. So with that, I just want to share that we will be looking for your feedback from today's presentation, and we'll be sending a short survey out via the email that you shared with us when you registered for today's presentation. So would love to know your thoughts on what you thought. Many of you are stating that in the chat window as well, but we're also looking for some feedback on other ideas that you're looking to learn from future virtual presentations that we plan to offer to our participants here today and others. So again, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you to Nicholle, and thank you to all of you for attending today's session. Have a wonderful afternoon, and get started on those goals.